Today is the 28th of June 2008, and I'm very fortunate to be talking to Dr. Hugh Len and Mabel Katz, and this is Saul Mulroney from www.hoponoponosimplified.com. Dr. Hugh Len, my first very special guest, was born in Hawaii and has a doctorate from the University of Iowa and a Master of Science from the University of Utah, and a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Colorado. Dr. Hugh Len is the Chairman Emeritus of the Foundation of Hawaii Inc., Freedom of the Cosmos, a non-profit educational foundation, and the work of the foundation is rooted in the ancient Hawaiian problem-solving process of self-identity through Hoponopono. Dr. Hugh Len has conducted worldwide classes of self-identity through Hoponopono and has given 3 presentations at the United Nations. More information about self-identity through Hoponopono and Dr. Hugh Len can be found at www.hoponopono.org. My other very special guest, Mabel, has been studying and practicing and teaching Hoponopono for over 10 years now, and very often with Dr. Hugh Len. Mabel is a business consultant, author, speaker, and seminar leader, and she's a shining star in the Los Angeles Latino community. Mabel travels around the world where she fascinates large audiences, sharing her knowledge about Hoponopono and talking about her wonderful book, The Easiest Way. More information about Mabel can be found at www.mabelkatz.com and www.businessbyu.com. So I'm really excited to have both you, Dr. Hugh Len, and Mabel talking with me this evening. And I'd like...
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Saul.
Thank you. And I'd like to ask you, Mabel, if you would please read the I and the I, the special Hoponopono prayer in English, and if Dr. Len wouldn't mind to read it in Hawaiian so we can get started tonight.
Thank you, Saul. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So I am the I come forth from the void into light. I am the breath that nurtures life. I am that emptiness, the hollowness beyond all consciousness. The I, the it, the all. I draw my bow of rainbows across the waters. The continuum of minds with matters. I am the incoming and outgoing of breath. The invisible, untouchable breeze, the undefinable atom of creation. I am the I.
Mai kapoi loko o ka lama lama, o wao no ka ha, ka mali ola, o wao no ka poho, ke pele o waho ai no kai a pa, ka I ke tino iho na mea pa, ka e au I ku upi o na anoi noi, ma waho ai no kai a pa, ka o mao o na mana o a me na mea pa, wao no ka ho a me ka ha, e huna ka makane nahi, ka ua huna o pomolipo o wao no ki I.
Well, thank you both of you, and really once again it's such a fantastic privilege to be speaking to both of you with me here in Johannesburg, South Africa. It's just about midnight my time, and the both of you are in Los Angeles in the USA, and it's 3 p.m. but it's amazing that we're connecting and it's almost like we're in the same room. In September last year, I made the trip to London to attend a self-identity through Hoponopono weekend conference with Dr. Hugh Len. And really what struck me was the simplicity of the Hoponopono processes, and a lot of people try to grasp this with their conscious mind and try to really reason it out, and that I know from what I've experienced and from all the work that I've done is really impossible. So Dr. Hugh Len, perhaps I can start by asking you to please describe what is Hoponopono and the cleaning that we do. What is the main reason, and what is your reason for spreading this word for everyone to benefit from?
Well, the word Hoponopono means to correct errors. really clear about what an error is, and an error is just memories replaying in the subconscious. Memories replaying, or you could put it another way, history repeating itself. So if we have, for example, problems such as heart problems, or we have financial problems, the problems are simply being replayed. So the idea of the Hoponopono is to appeal to the divinity in us and make amends for that by simply saying, I would like to make amends for whatever is going on in me, whatever history, whatever memories are replaying in me. I'm asking that it be erased and transmuted to nothing. And so when that is done, assuming for now at least the divinity comes down and erases in the subconscious the memory replaying poverty, then you're back to zero, or you're back to what Jesus called purity of soul, to what Shakespeare calls blank, to what Buddha calls the void. And so now that you're back in the void, you're free. And in that moment of freedom, out of that nothingness comes the light, what Buddha called enlightenment, what Shakespeare calls poetry, what Jesus really calls inspiration. So the idea of the Hoponopono is that the problem is only within the soul, specifically the subconscious. The Hoponopono is corrected by working with the entire self, what we call self-identity. And there are four aspects of it. Maybe I can end there. If you have other questions you'd like to ask me about. Yeah.
Right. And I've heard you describe before, and from when I attended your class, and it really made sense to me, is that we are all created in the image of the divine, which is void and infinite. And
Yes.
perhaps I could pose this to Mabel, and I'd like to hear your take on it, please, afterwards, Dr. Hulen. That void and that emptiness, if it's anything that we want to attract into our life, or that inspiration that comes through from the divine, is that meaning that really once we can almost silence ourselves and not be engaging with our conscious mind, that's when we can really be helped and guided?
Yeah, well, yeah, the point is, it's interesting. The other day I was eating yogurt, and I noticed that on the yogurt, the cover of the yogurt, it said fat-free. So us Americans are kind of interested in being free, and so the Hoponopono is about setting the mind free from data repeating, replaying suffering, replaying problems. And so what we want to do is, the point of existence is to get back to freedom. And freedom means being back for Buddha in the void, for Jesus in purity, for Shakespeare in blank, for Goethe, the German philosopher, in silence. So the idea is freedom first. That is, we want to do everything we can, every way to clear our mind, to get back to clarity. And Hoponopono is about appealing to the divinity in us to make the correction. That is, to erase that which keeps us from being at zero. And so once that gets erased and we come back at zero, we're back to freedom. And only out of freedom then can this inspiration that come forth and this light. So what do you want? Do you want to comment on that, Mabel?
Yeah, I would like to say that, when people are talking about the void, the emptiness, those are kind of seconds. We all had kind of that experience of things going, the flow going. But, we need to be conscious that memories are playing all the time. So the question that we always ask, people ask is, when do you know you are coming from inspiration or when you are coming from memory? And you have to realize that this cleaning has to be done constantly, like the breathing. So this is something that you practice and you practice and you practice, and you find more into coming from that inspiration that you realize sometimes even later on when you look back and you realize that it couldn't be you. How did that happen? And you start, experiencing some miracles in your life sometimes because your willingness to let go and allow inspiration to enter in your life. You give permission.
But this inspiration, or what Buddha called enlightenment, it can only come out of being free first. So if you read, for example, Shakespeare's sonnet 146 and 147, he calls memories rebel powers. These are the powers that go against zero and against the light. So the Hoponopono is the process of erasing the rebels, which are just memories replaying poverty or fear. And once those memories get erased, you're back into what Jesus called the kingdom, Buddha called the void, and only out of being at that void or the kingdom then can light come forward, because then you don't have any counter forces. The Hoponopono is about erasing counter forces in the subconscious, which are just memories or history, taking it back to zero, and then allowing the light to be there, because the light will come automatically, and it won't come unless you're free.
Right. So, Dr. Hulen, does that mean that anytime that we consciously engage with our mind and worry and talk to other people about our problems, that we are actually standing in our own way of that?
Yeah, not only that, but the poor soul in us, when we talk about a problem, when we try to get answers from other people, we really rob ourselves of freedom of heaven. Because the only being that can release us from the history, from the memories replaying problems and suffering, is the divinity or the I am in us. And that I am, the way the I am does it, it transmutes. That it takes a memory which is toxic, and it takes that memory back to pure energy. And once it's back to pure energy, it takes that memory at that pure energy, and it releases it and restores it. Now you're back to freedom, no opposing forces, and then the light automatically comes. This is why you hear that famous biblical saying, seek ye first the kingdom, that is, seek ye first freedom, then all else will be added. Whatever is perfect and right for you will come forth from zero into light.
So something that had helped me when I found, Hoponopono, is to realize, that I don't know anything, and the idea of letting go, erasing, giving permission, like I said before, for these memories to be erased. And what happened is I found out that the worst thing that we could do when a problem comes out is, like you said, worrying, thinking, coping, trying to manipulate, to control. When you really let go, that's when you really find that freedom that Javier Cala is talking about. And then things are starting to fall into place, and, those solutions, perfect solutions to your problems just come.
What no one really fully realizes, except maybe people like Shakespeare or these great sages such as Buddha and Jesus, is that the mind is not in control. In other words, the conscious mind, the subconscious, nothing's in control. And what really runs the mind are only two laws. Only two laws. The law of memory, which means it's repeating problems, or the law of inspiration. So you only have those two choices. So the conscious mind has a choice to be or not to be free. And so the Hoponopono is about allowing the conscious mind to go the route of freedom to being responsible. So the business of life is being 100% responsible for the history in the subconscious that replays problems. Now the only question is whether the conscious mind is going to choose to be or not to be free.
Right. And Dr. Hulen, one of the major axioms of Hoponopono is that there's no out there. And can you relate that to the importance of actually knowing and discovering who we really are?
So what happens is when we kind of come back to sort of a simple explanation. So I have in my mind three sets, what I'm going to call three sets. So let the three sets be three sets of eyes. So if I'm looking coming from zero or from blank, I will be blind. In other words, if I'm coming from nothing, I can't see anything, which means then love is blind. You're actually seeing with the eye of love when you're blind, because that means no judgment, no right, no wrong, no up, no down. And then from that no eyes comes the next process. This is called the divine eye, in which out of the zero comes the light. And so now you see with the light of God. So you have that famous saying that Jesus again comes back to this great saying, seek ye first the kingdom, then you come from blank, and then one who is the mind, if the mind is pure in heart, you will see God. So the seeing of God in another person is seeing through your eyes, coming from zero, and then coming through, the light coming through. So you actually see people as they are really who they are, perfect. Now, the third set of eyes is to look at someone through the eyes of memories. And this memory is coming from inside. When I look with memory, I see I'm really looking like I'm looking through dark glasses. I don't see the person for who that person is, perfect in every way. So any imperfections I see that I experience of the world is really imperfections of me, which is wonderful to realize that the business of life is only to release the imperfection in me, the judgment, the anger, the eyes that I see with. So I always see with judgment, which is history repeating itself. The Hoponopono is about asking the divinity in me to release those memories. So now the shade goes, and I can see more clear. I see perfectly, and then I see with light. So what the Hawaiians call aloha. So when I say to aloha to you, so I'm saying I'm in the presence of God.
Right, that's incredible. And when you were working at the Hawaii State Hospital and you were brought in there, and was it only when you started changing your perception of how you saw people that they started to change? How does that relate to what you're saying now, Dr. Hulen?
So what happens is again, all these great sages are saying you have to give up the world. And then one has to realize the world is only what we experience in our soul, specifically in our subconscious. And that world is a repeat of the memory. So when we come to a situation, we always have to deal with bringing the past to the present. And so the idea of when I work with anybody, be it my own children, be it with people from in state institutions, be it with email, I have to be willing to moment by moment clear in me what I experience of them. And once I clear of that, then I see them as God created them, and they experience that, and they go home.
Sure. And
about what you have, people you would like to comment on that?
I'd like to.
Benny, it is important to know. We are always waiting for others to change, and then we realize it's just us. And when we change, everything changes. But that applies to everybody. People you work, people, your own kids, and everybody. It's like they change, but really, you change. Because whatever gets erased from you, it gets erased from your family, relatives, and ancestors. So this is profound work.
Right, and Dr. Hulen, from your book, Zero Limits, and my Bell's wonderful book, The Easiest Way, which I've read many, many times, one of the other major axioms is that this piece begins with me. So once we take that initial move to change ourselves and change the way that we perceive people and keep on cleaning those memories in our subconscious mind, does it really affect the people around us?
Yes, because what one, again, the most important question always to ask is, who am I? And if one has no sense of one's identity, one's always going to be lost in the data, because the data is ferocious. The history are playing. So every time you come to a situation, you're bringing history with you. It's ferocious. Unless you're willing to realize that you're bringing history to the moment, then you're forever stuck. So the Hoponopono is about erasing, appealing to the divinity within the self, to erase the history. So now you come clean. Clean meaning you come zero, and zero means peace begins with me. So as long as you're at zero, everybody else has to be zero, because we all share in all of the accumulated data of creation. Like whatever I hold in me, it's held in the whole cosmos. So if I release it, if I ask for a release of the data, and assuming divinity decides to release the data, whatever gets released in me gets released in the whole cosmos, because I'm one and the same with the whole cosmos. If the cosmos is in pain, I'm in pain. And most of the time, what happens in, like if you read the book Use or Illusion, you discover that maybe 1 to 2 bits of information per second you're conscious of, but there are millions we're not conscious of. So the idea that Mabel talked about, you have to be willing to ceaselessly clean so that you can be at zero, and only at zero can you have this what I'm going to call absolute peace.
Right, so the idea of the Hoponopono is to be at peace no matter what is happening to us, and by being at peace, the divine can infuse us with this inspiration to know what we got to do next.
Yes.
Brilliant, excellent.
And what happens, Saul, is most of the time we don't realize if we're doing cleaning ceaselessly, we may be inspired and not know it. So when somebody asks me as I travel around the world, well, how do I know that that I'm inspired? That means you're stuck, because you're asking. The fact that you're asking, you're hooked. Better to just keep cleaning and not be concerned about whether one is inspired. Because if one is going to be willing to clean, then you can count on the divinity doing its part. If you don't do your cleaning, then divinity can't do its part, which is to transmute information. So the idea is I never go the route of am I inspired, because then I'm stuck in, I'm thinking about am I or am I not inspired. So the idea is not to even go that route, but to constantly clean. Because that's the only purpose why we exist, is to clean. We're not here for any other purpose.
So by being clean, and if our only purpose is to clean, is that so we can be close to God and really know our, be sent the inspiration to guide us moment to moment?
Yeah, not to be close with God, but to be one with God. So when we're at zero, that is, we are at nothing, then we are one with God, because in zero resides the divinity. Divinity and zero are one in each other. So as long as we're back to zero, we're back with the divinity. And since the divinity knows why it created each one of us, then I will get what I need, Mabel will get what she needs, your radio program will get what it needs, the listeners will get what it needs, you will get. As long as one of us goes back to zero, we all go back to zero.
I like the idea, how Haleakala put it about that when you are at zero, you are blind, that love is blind. Those are the moments that, no opinions, no judgments, no expectations. So that really things can come into our life. And then again, we don't know if it's, through inspiration or not, or we are coming from memory, but the idea is you keep cleaning, and more is coming, more is going to come your way, whatever is right and perfect for you.
Right. And Dr. Hewlin, you mentioned that book, The Use Illusion by Tornado Traders, and for me it was very, very enlightening to read that book, to realize that out of the really 10 or 11 little bits of information that we are consciously aware of, there's so many million bits of information out of our awareness. And I remember from our weekend in London, where I spent with you on that weekend, that there are one or two people, and there were one or two people in that weekend that had their buttons pushed and they got angry with you.
Yes.
And is that why you're always cleaning all the time, because just to try avoid that, and that's going to happen anyway?
Well, I think you're cleaning to be clear. That is, I'm always cleaning for only one purpose: to be free. Because if I'm free, I'll be fine, and everybody else will be fine. So, like at the London class, or the class I'm going to be doing in Japan a weekend from now, what happens is that I'm always sent the names of students as they register, because I'm saying to them, you need to provide for me the names of students so I can clean in advance to prevent anything from coming up that could be prevented. Now, there are going to be situations in which no matter how much you clean, certain things have to come up because they're like teaching situations in the class. But it's important to prevent. So the Hoponopono is about preventing problems by getting to zero. And the way to do it is, for example, if I'm going to do a class in Japan, I would like to know the place I'm going to do it, who's going to be present, the equipment that's going to, everything that's involved, so I can be doing my cleaning so that I can be at peace, the equipment can be at peace, the room can be at peace, the land in which the building sits can be at peace. Because if I don't clean up front, all hell is going to break loose. Because the only reason I'm here, if I'm going to be in Japan, is because things are going to come up that if I don't set free, I'm going to receive hell. So in London, there are 2 or 3 people. You cannot look at them in terms of people. You have to look at them in terms of bugs. So they are bugs in my computer bank data that bug people. So I get to show up to see what I need to debug, as opposed to showing up to teach people anything. I want to go because if I debug myself, everybody else will be fine.
Right, and Mabel, I know that I've heard from you some 1 or 2 examples. I think there was a Palestinian person in one of your conferences recently that also at the beginning recognized your surname and thought, what can she offer you? And just by your cleaning, you were able to dissolve that.
Yeah, well, actually, there was a tremendous impact in what the cleaning can do, because he had a reaction of what I said. He didn't agree. I asked him actually to be open, because I really thought that we were saying the same thing, using different words. And the following day he came, he brought me a book as a gift. He shared a story of something that happened to him using the tools, the Hoponopono tools, and having incredible results. And he actually, at the end of the training, he said, this is peace in the Middle East. See, it's about, letting go.
Right. And Mabel, I've heard you say before that you have a real mission, and you feel that you're on a mission, especially with the wonderful work that you're doing with the Latino community in Los Angeles, which you've said is not an easy job, and it really takes a lot of your effort, and you can do it all the clean that you're doing. That you're getting. I'd like to ask you, what do you feel is your personal mission with the Hoponopono? What really drives you to be able to continue every day? And Dr. Hulen, perhaps you can also give me your side of that when Mabel's done with that.
Yep.
Well, my feeling is that my mission is wake up consciousness. Wake up people. And we all have choices. So I found my path. I know Hoponopono works, but I'm also open, and I realize that there are people that are going to choose other ways. But I always tell people, you have to do what works for you, and but it's important that you do something. It is important that we wake up. We find out who we really are. We cannot keep playing big things, and feel sorry for ourselves until that this world is not fair,
Yes.
But so once and for all, we need to take 100% responsibility. We need to know we are attracting everything in our life, and I feel that that's my mission, and I share because I found my path, and I share it with them. And there are some people, that will do the cleaning, and some others will, choose differently. But I know this works.
And for you, Dr. Hulen, I've heard you say that you would actually prefer to get old at home and not have to bother with all of this.
You hit it right on the head. I told Mabel that often. So why, the question is always, why am I in this existence? That's the question I've asked myself. And for me, the answer is simple. Obviously, the divinity said, listen, you're a prodigal son. You've got stuff you need to make amends for, and I'm sending you back into this existence because I'm giving you one more chance to come home to freedom. And so for me, the teaching of the Hoponopono is not my central purpose in life. My central purpose is really to set myself free. And the Hoponopono allows me to set my history free, history of judging, anger, annoyance, irritation, being caustic, all that sort of stuff. And I'm willing to do it. And the teaching is just a means for me to travel to see what it is that I need to let go of. And so I get to work on things like potential jet lag, but I don't have that kind of problem. I know how to deal with that. I have things like I have to deal with all the time, like babies crying on an airplane. So I go, okay, I get to work on that. So the bottom line for me is I'm only in this existence because the God who loves me said, hello, you have unfinished business, and so I'm giving you one more chance. You're a prodigal son. You get to choose to come home to freedom or not. And so I'm in this lifetime. I'm clear. I have the problems are not out there. The problems are inside of me. They're memories replaying. And I'm willing to do my cleaning so that I can that memories can be set free and I can be free. But it's not easy to do. I mean, it's very difficult to do. It's like Jesus said, it's walking a straight path is not easy to do, but I'm willing to do it.
Well, I just realized as we are talking, because we always said our purpose, and our mission is to clean. And I just realized that really what I share as my mission is really my passion, to wake up consciousness. And how wonderful that I can do this work, that I can do my passion, and sharing what I came to do, that is to clean. That I love to do that.
Right. And Dr. Julian, I remember in London, I'm sure you also remember that there was actually a very young baby that cried a lot during that second day. And I remember you pointing out that nothing is ever what we think it is, and any sort of problem or interference that we perceive, is that actually just another chance that God's giving us to clean on it and clear it out?
So what happens is the baby cries, and it doesn't happen by accident. The baby can't cry unless we're present.
Right.
I mean, it cannot. So now the only question is whether you're going to resist the crying or resist whatever's going on in you, and with this annoyance, irritation. But again, the great sages tell you, love your enemies, and your enemies are only your history playing. So when a child cries and you react, some people, to be very honest with you, come in so clean. If a baby cries, they can't hear the baby. But for us who have stuff, we're going to hear the baby cry, and we're going to resist. We're going to say, "How come I paid $400 whatever dollars, and what's this baby crying?" And so we bitch and we moan. But see, we're stuck in the world. Jesus says you got to get out the world, and not easy to do. But boy, I'm willing to do it. But now, what happens if all of us did our cleaning before we showed up? The baby couldn't cry. The baby just could not cry if somebody who showed up was doing their cleaning and cut their tie with the baby crying. So once the data gets erased from one of us that has anything to do with the crying, it erases that which would bug the baby, then the baby can't cry, you see. So I'm always cleaning, so as a matter of prevention. But there are going to be times, no matter how much I clean, like I had on an airplane, I was sitting on an airplane coming back from Japan, and I was cleaning with with whatever was going on with me with the person sitting next to me, because I could smell alcohol. It was going, and then I heard really clearly, he's going to throw up on you. And I went, huh? He's going to what? He's going to throw up. No matter how much you clean, he's going to throw up on you, and he needs to. I'm going, okay. So I did my cleaning, and sure enough, he's halfway through, he threw up on me. I had to be cleaned up, but I heard myself saying to him, that's no problem, no problem, no problem. And then when we got into Honolulu and he was picking up his bag, he saw me, he said, you know, I felt so much better when you kept saying to me, no problem, no problem. But peace begins with me, no matter if somebody threw up on me, huh?
Right. And it's so, Dr. Len, it's so almost difficult in a way not to have judgments and opinions and those assumptions saying, just like, maybe the divine is cross with me and this happened, because does that really get us into trouble when we try and work that out?
Yeah. The idea is if we clean, and that is if I clean, that's my part. My cleaning means I'm saying to divinity, I would like to make amends. Please forgive me. I'm sorry for whatever's going on in me that I'm replaying this problem. If I'm willing to do that relentlessly, do my cleaning, divinity has to do its part. It cannot say, well, I don't know about that, I'm on vacation. So, you know, but if we don't do our part, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive, divinity can do its part, which is the transmutation of the error. So the idea is, I don't get into the give and push. But I know one thing: it's not easy to do this cleaning. But I know that if I do it, I'll be fine.
And Dr. Hulen, I was reading from some of Joe Vitale's stuff this afternoon when I was preparing to speak to you, and you, Dr. Joe Vitale.
Yeah. Okay.
And I remember reading that you talked a lot about your early experiences with Morna Simeona, where you didn't last too long in the first two classes that you attended until finally her cleaning allowed you to see what she was talking about. My question to you is that when I met you in London, and from a lot of the interviews that I've heard you say, you make quite a big fuss about the room that those classes are held in, and to most people it seems like the room isn't living, or money doesn't have sort of feelings. Can you describe of those three parts that the room and money has, and why that's so important to you to respect that?
Yeah. Well, if everything has an identity, the identity comes from the divinity, which means that everything has consciousness, whether it's a room, whether it's your car, whether it's the atoms and molecules of your car, whether it's the road. I'm always talking to things. For example, I had a case in which somebody was trying to sell a piece of property, and it was such troublesome. So the person gave me a call, and we went over it, and I simply said to her, well, have you talked to the property to see what's up with the property? She goes, huh? I said, listen, if you were the property, wouldn't you want to have some say in who was going to buy you? And she said, no, of course. I said, why wouldn't the property have some say in wanting to have the right person buy it? And she kind of thought a little bit about that. I could feel it, boom, 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 but I was doing my cleaning. And she said, okay, I'm kind of open to that, but it's kind of weird. I mean, properties being purposeful and having a choice. I said, well, let's see. And so what came up is a cleaning process. But what really came up also was for her to have a conversation with the property. And I guess, I don't know, when 2 or 3 telephones later, she cried. And she said, my God, I could actually hear the property moaning. And that all the people who have ever been in that property had no appreciation for the property. And I said,
so, Dr. Hulen, when those memories that we have in our subconscious mind, those are our enemies. And I know that one of the simplest Hoponopono tools is to say thank you to our memories and I love you to our memories. Why how does that work by thanking and loving that memory that we're able to send a message to the divine that we want that erased?
Yeah, well, I think Mabel can comment on this too, but the idea is whatever we resist, we are stuck with. And so when something comes up like a sciatic pain, the Hoponopono is saying, it's just a memory. Say to that memory, I love you. Thank you for showing up and giving me one more chance to ask the divinity to set you free. And so it's, again, one of those biblical sayings that goes something like this, love your enemies. It's what I think is in both of Shakespeare's tragedies. The bottom line is that there is mercy. And the mercy is you're loving those things in you that cause you to suffer. And the way you love your enemies is you say to them, I'm sorry, please, and you literally capitulate. You give up, and the enemy says, oh, there's nothing to fight, bye, and they leave. Mabel?
Yeah, I learned long ago that resisting actually attracts more of what you don't want. I read something the other day that says when you find yourself in a hole, don't keep digging. and that's kind of what we do. I from Haleakala, I learned the problem is not the problem unless we say it is, and the problem is not the problem, but how we react to the problem is the problem. So things are going to happen, we are going to feel the pain. Suffering is optional. It's something we are always choosing. That's what we need to realize. We are always choosing. So we can choose to let go, and we can choose to engage and react and resist and think or worry.
And there are only two basic laws, I think, other than what causes the mind to experience anything, and that is love. The idea is to love God and to love your neighbor as yourself, and ultimately your only neighbor is the rebel powers in your soul. And so it's kind of easy. It's like you say, it's very simple. In fact, the other day when I was giving a class in Iowa, somebody says, "Hey, this sounds like a gimmick." I said, "Well, maybe it is, but maybe you ought to try it. It's loving your enemies is kind of unusual, because usually, like we resist, we fight them, we do everything, and we notice they don't go away. But to love your enemies, to release them, my God, what? This is the whole notion of Shakespeare and Shakespeare's notion of mercy. That's what, and grace. So the Hoponopono is about mercy and grace, not resistance, not being warring, but loving your enemies, which are just your history replaying.
And I think that it helps to really get to the point that you realize that what we don't know is that we don't know, and then you are more willing to really let go, knowing that you don't know what is right and perfect for you, and you learn to be more open, flexible, and not having so many opinions and judgments, and really life starts flowing, and it's going back to being children again, so it's beautiful.
Right. And that's very interesting. And basically what you guys are both telling me is that any sort of problem that we perceive in our life, be it a shortage of money or a relationship problem or even a health problem, those are actually memories that are causing it. And the only way to resolve it is to go down to that memory and sort of thank that memory, and from there it goes up to the divine, who can send down that manna, that energy to delete it.
You see, what happens is that money. There are people who make millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, but they're stuck in that. They want to make more and more and more and more. But the question is why? Well, I think it can't be hung. It's a a short lifetime. We only have 80 to 90 years of life, and that's short in the life of the universe. This idea of just gathering, but why not be free? Why not be free? I mean, that's the ultimate goal, so that when you're free, whatever you have is perfect and right. If there's more to come, as long as you're free, you'll get it. You don't have to sweat for it. See, that's what happened when Adam left this. When Adam and Eve got kicked out of heaven, they didn't get kicked out. It changed their consciousness. That is, when Adam and Eve ate the apple, which is knowledge. This is knowledge now. They gave up wisdom for knowledge, and the Hoponopono is about letting go of knowledge for wisdom, and the wisdom is freedom. God, I'm free. I'm free at last. That's the wisdom that you want. You want the wisdom. Here in this great country of ours, I think Mabel has alluded to it, that our national motto is in God we trust, but it doesn't show. And so for me, it's this constant cleaning. But the real wealth is freedom. Freedom from wanting, freedom from greed, freedom from accumulating. That's the wonder of it all. It's freedom.
The beauty of being at zero, like when we were mentioning before, is that that's when you really realize you don't need anything and that you have everything. So it's totally different coming, from that point. Being grateful actually for what you have, it puts you also in a completely different energy,
Right. So, Mabel, for your advice to someone that would be listening to this interview and really wants to start improving their life, and they see the relevance of what you're saying, would that be moment-to-moment cleaning and just not trying to think everything through?
Yeah, letting go, especially that we think we know, that helped me. I kind of lived my life thinking I had to be perfect and know it all. And I learned to say I don't know. Now when people ask me, I just say I don't know. And you realize that not only you're setting yourself free, everybody gets free, because now the others don't feel like, oh, I should know, I should tell. If I don't know, I will make it up. It is beautiful to set yourself free, and even for intellectual, and thinking people like me, discovering this gave me a lot of freedom and peace.
And Dr. Hewlin, in your lecture, Who's in Charge, and your online essay, Who's in Charge, you really allude to there is that we're really not in charge, because we've got so many of these memories going on in our subconscious mind all the time, and we actually are, unaware of them. For the average person out there who's never heard of Hoponopono, or who's just maybe woken up to some sort of relevance about the law of attraction and that their mind is creating their reality, how do you relate to someone who really just has no idea whatsoever that all of this exists? And I know that a big part of the Hoponopono is, unless you're very, very moved by inspiration, not to actually go out and teach this sort of stuff. But it seems that most people are totally unaware of what we've been discussing tonight.
Yes. So the bottom line is simple. So the question is, who am I? That question has to be answered. So for me, the question is that the answer is very simple. I am a child of God. That means, as being a child of God, I am the exact replication of the divine being. And what does that replication look like? I'm zero infinite. That is, I am eternal. I am free. That's my original. That's the point of origin. So I know that as long as I go back to the point of origin, which is freedom and being infinite, I'll be fine. Now the only question is, what keeps me from going back there? What gets in the way? And that is the history replaying in my subconscious, called memories replaying. So it's the memories that displace my identity. That is my being free and infinite. So now the question is, well, how do I get back there? Well, you get back there with a cleaning process. For example, the cleaning process may be I X my situation. So, for example, if I have a backache that keeps me stuck, I can't move around, I can't go out to places, then in my mind I say I X. So this is a cleaning process. I X whatever is going on in my mind that I experience as the back problem, and I do it relentlessly. I X that memory, I X that memory, or any other kind of memory. So I'm always looking to go back to zero first. That's my point of origin. And the only way I'm going to get back there is I have to let go of the memory that replay my problem. And the way I do it is one of the cleaning tools that I use, which is a cleaning tool of repentance, forgiveness, and transmutation. I simply work on my memories, and the process goes, I act whatever is going on in me, whatever memories replaying this problem, this problem, this problem. So I'm relentless in terms of this cleaning because I'm putting zero first. I want to put my being free and with God first. That's my ultimate goal.
And is that, and by being free of those memories and by reaching that zero, everything that's perfect for you is going to come your way.
Not only will it come my way, but everything that's perfect for everybody else they'll get. So this is a prime example is my work at Hawaii State Hospital. I wasn't there to do any therapy for the patients. I wasn't there to save them. I wasn't there to heal them. I was there to look at myself. What is going on in me that I experience this person being crazy, that person being violent? What's going on in me that keeps me from being myself first? So as I began to work on the experiences, the causes of my experiences as a patient, as I began to have that, ask divinity, make amends for that, as I got clearer and clearer, they got clearer and clearer, the building got clearer and clearer. For example, one of the things that happened in this building, it always had plumbing and electrical problems. The toilets would flush with nobody on it. By the third year, when I was getting ready to go, no plumbing problem, no paint problem, no violence in the room, nobody in seclusion anymore. Still people on medication, but less medication. So I wasn't working on them. I was working on whatever was going on in me. And as soon as I got to a point, I heard divinity say, okay, it's time to go. You got other places in your mind that you need to be responsible to clean up. And so I moved on.
And for you, Mabel, I know that that you don't have some of those gifts that Dr. Hulen has to be able to see sort of spirits and things that are not available to most of our eyes. And for your work that you do with your accounting practice, if most of your Hoponopono work just kept to yourself and you do it while you're speaking to your clients and just in your normal course of your day?
Yeah, well, I'll do my best to do it as much as I can. Like Aliakala says, to do it all the time. So I notice that it affects everything. That my work affects my family, and the changes, that you can see when you practice and when you clean. And I always say that I love to bring this kind of work to intellectual people, people with degrees out there that don't believe or are skeptic, because I really cannot see or cannot hear, what Aliakala says, but I realize that we get inspiration in different ways, and we are moved, by the divinity in different ways. And I love to be able to tell people, sometimes that normal people, if you can call us normal, this work really works for us too. So I love the idea that to be able to show again, that this works for everybody. It is amazing work.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Mabel and Dr. Hulen. I know that we've only got a few more minutes left because we've been going for quite a while, and I know that both of your time is very, very valuable. Dr. Hewlin, if we could sum up what we've been discussing tonight, and for people want to always try and improve their life, and especially, as Mabel said, intellectual people and people that have always come from the conscious mind and to question everything out, what would be your advice for someone that really wants to start detaching themselves from, because they realize that their conscious mind can't solve their problems? What's the first step to go down that road?
Well, it's more like a funny one, because one of the things that came up one day is somebody said, "You ever notice that every time there's a problem, you're always there?" And it brought kind of a laughter to the room. And so one has to realize that any time there's a problem, you're always there, because the problem is in you, and it's an experience you're having. It's a perception, a judgment of whatever, and you're stuck with it. So the only question is, the bottom line is, do you, it's like in Shakespeare, one of Shakespeare's writings, the question is, to be or not to be free? Free of what? Free of memories replaying stuff. And so if one chooses to be free, then the Hoponopono is a way of freeing up the stuff. And the way to do it is simply to love your enemies. To love your enemies is the Hoponopono is when I have a back pain, I can say to that in me, not out there, I love you. Whatever is causing this back pain, I love you. Thank you. And then there are other processes. But the wonderful thing about the Hoponopono is that you're only looking at yourself. You're only looking to take good care of yourself. You're only looking to be 100% responsible for what you experience. And if you want to do those things, then the self-identity through Hoponopono can really assist you to do that. Yeah.
Right, and for you, Mabel, I know that you tried a lot of different sort of techniques, and yoga was one of the last things that you tried before you found Hoponopono. And I've heard you mention before, is it very important that we stick to riding one sort of horse and not confuse ourselves with all of the different techniques that are available out there?
Yeah, definitely. Well, one thing took me to the other, and then when I came to Ho'oponopono, I realized that that's what I was looking for, because it's about, I have created it, I can change it. And I noticed another thing, there is a lot of drama, or you need to relive the situation in order to let go. And this is about not even having to know what is it that you are really letting go. So I love the freedom that this gives you, the peace, and that you can apply it actually to everything in your life.
Sure. So I think another big part of the Ho'oponopono, and I'm going to sort of end on this, is that there's no gurus, and you don't have to go outside of yourself to solve your problems.
Oh, wonderful.
And is that, Dr. Hewlin, because we've got that divinity within us already, and the divinity, we can go directly in that way, and it's very, very refreshing and exciting to hear that we don't have to go to a psychologist or the gurus outside of us. It's actually all available already to us.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. And now I'm going to be really weird. Not only can people go because you're a direct replication of the divinity, but also trees and rocks and ocean. They're direct replications of the divinity, and they have inherent in them this ability to go back and talk to divinity. So the Hoponopono is only, as Mabel has talked about, only coming home to yourself, which is, who am I? I am a divine child. I am a divine being, and so is everything else. And so the Hoponopono is about honoring the fact that we and everything are divine beings.
And is it important, Dr. Hewlin, to not be too tough on myself, to find that if I'm not doing my best, not remembering to clean, just to remind myself to actually get back to the cleaning and to take it from there?
Yeah, it's, again, there are great sages who have come before us, and one of them said, Father, forgive us, for we know not what we do. And so the Hoponopono, there's going to be a lot of slipping and stumbling and falling, and you just notice that, you clean it, you stand up, you move on, as opposed to thinking, my God, I should have known better. But see, again, those are just memories repeating, and so, you get used to going, okay, I made a mistake, I can clean that, I'll pick myself up and go on. So the Hoponopono really is about joy and about the fact that we're going to make mistakes, but we can correct them.
Well, I think
you mentioned something about riding one horse that is so important, because then there is a part of you, the unconscious, the inner child, that can do this cleaning automatic, like it does the breathing for us. But you have to be committed to the cleaning, and it is very important again to find what that works for us and just do it. Otherwise, this part of us gets confused and says, okay, when the next problem comes out, what are we going to do,
Right. And I think for me, Mabel and Dr. Hewlin, one of the very exciting things that I've learned from the last 3 years that I've been interested in the Hoponopono is that it really gives me a lot more confidence in my own capability to know that I can connect directly to the divine, even though I am an intellectual. But I've really realized that, and that's very, very exciting. And also for what you said, Dr. Hewlin, is that we all are perfect, and sometimes we find ourselves in judgment of other people, or even doubting and getting disappointed with people. But there's no need for that, because everyone is already perfect. And for me, it's really, really exciting to be reminded that.
Yeah, not only. See, the first thing, we're always going to fall and stumble. It's just the way it is. But we can recover. The Hoponopono gives us a chance to recover. So if we've made a judgment, we go, oops. You acknowledge it. You go, okay, and then you begin the cleaning again. But the nice thing about the Hoponopono is that you can recover. You can set yourself free. You don't have to stay stuck in the history plane. And as you pointed out, I mean, some people, I guess, feel like they need another person to help them. But if you decide that you would like to have the divinity do it, then the simplicity of this process is all you have to do is say, I love you, thank you, I accept the situation, you drink your solar water. I mean, you do some of the cleaning processes that in the article who's in charge, but ultimately the goal is freedom.
Right.
Freedom of the cosmos. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Hewlin. It's really been it's been a wonderful opportunity to speak to you, and I really, really appreciate it. And I know a lot of people are going to benefit from everything that you've said tonight. And thank you for being so generous with your time. And thank you to you, Mabel, because this whole call is due to you, and I really, really appreciate all the help that you've given me, and we speak from time to time. And I think that this call will give people a lot of hope and a lot of reasons to be positive, because when I came to see you in London, Dr. Hewlin, was at a time where it was exactly what I needed. And Hoponopono and anything in life is that there's never a mistake, and there's always a reason why people discover it when they do. And really thank you so much for all your time and
thank you.
And for all your effort.
For all your feeding soul too. Thank you for your clean.
Thank you so much. And this is Saul Moraney from Hoponopono Simplified, and I've been talking to Dr. Hewlin from www.hoponopono.org and Mabel Katz from www.mabelkatz.com and